If people keep acting a fool on the internet, I'm never, ever, ever, ever going to get my fuel lines put on my OBS Ford diesel truck out there. At any rate, I just can't help it because so many of the people on my Facebook friends list are dumb. They're just dumb. That's probably why they're on my friends list. You know, birds of a feather. They're on my friends list. They ain't got no sense. They know just enough about politics and sociology and psychology and all those other ologies. They know just enough to have an opinion, but they don't know enough to know what they're talking about. And they certainly don't have enough integrity to be consistent in their principles. So they'll go and they'll comment on things like this little article here, this little reel from Fox News. And I know people outside of the conservative world think that if you're a conservative person, if you voted for Trump, if you're pro-family, if you're anti-abortion and that sort of stuff, that you are a Foxophile. You are a lover of Fox News. But au contraire, mon frere, that's not the case. Fox News is actually, they're still mainstream news. I mean, you know, they're still in the pocket of billionaires and such. So that's not the case. But a lot of the people on my friends list are conservatives. Well, they'll call themselves conservative, but I've tried to have conversations with some of these people to find out what they actually believe, what principles they actually hold, and what ideologies they actually support. And I find that most of them really don't even have an ideology. They're just into like idiotology. That's what it is. But they really don't have an ideology. They don't have any kind of an organized worldview in their head. That really all that they really understand is when I have thought A gives me a positive emotional response. A way of putting that is warm and fuzzy. I have thought A and it make me warm and fuzzy. Therefore, I like thought A. And since I'm not a bad person, because no one thinks they're a bad person, since I'm not a bad person and I have thought A and thought A make me warm and fuzzy, then thought A is true. And that's all they do. It's just, so whatever smorgasbord they put together, whatever patchwork quilt of ideas or parts and pieces and fragments of different ideologies, when they think of that little fragment of an ideology and it gives them a positive emotional response, then they say, well, that must be true and good and right, and that's something that we should do, and that's something everyone should do, and the world would be better off if everyone did that. The reality is they think the world would be better off if everyone did such and such, because that would mean that they would be able to continue getting more and more and more and more of this positive emotional response, you see. So the actual question of whether or not that little fragment of the ideology, that thought or idea, is true or just or fair or healthy or, bless God, godly, that really doesn't enter the equation. It's just, I had this thought or I had this experience or I heard this thing. It made me feel warm and fuzzy, so therefore this thing must be good. And that is as deep as their philosophical mining gets. You know, they don't try to challenge their own thoughts, because why would they do that? I mean, I'm a good person and I'm smart and I had the thought and I felt warm and fuzzy. If I didn't feel warm and fuzzy, well, that would mean that I wasn't a good person. So I felt warm and fuzzy and I'm a good person. So this must be right, because I wouldn't think up crazy stuff. You know, I wouldn't do things that were wrong, because that would make me mean I wasn't a good person. So, and that's kind of how they get into that feedback loop in their own head. And so these people, they say they're conservative. They're on my friends list. But when I talk to them, when I try to engage with them one-on-one, they're either not really conservative or they really don't know what they believe. All they know is what mama told them, what daddy told them. You know, this is what my family believes. This is what my friends believe. My preacher told me this. The people I go to church with told me that. You know, that's really as deep as a lot of the philosophical considerations go. And then when I try to engage with them, many times they'll get upset with me and they'll start telling me that you're not as smart as you think you are, Dane. You know, you try to put yourself out here as some sort of a scholar, but you're not. you're just a nanny poop, dang. You're just a nanny poop and you're fat. Or they'll try to use some of my own arguments and rhetoric against me. You know, that's really feminine, dang. You're acting really feminine, because they think that when I tell someone that they're thinking in the feminine, that I'm trying to insult them. So they think that's an insult. They think being feminine is bad. So they'll say, well, you're sounding really feminine, dang. And they expect me to be insulted, but that doesn't insult me, because in my mind, being feminine or thinking in the feminine is not a bad, it's not an insult inherently. It's not inherently an insult. You know, the problem is that when we're thinking in the feminine in a situation where feminine thinking can be destructive, you see, or unhealthy or counterproductive, you see. And I mean, the opposite is also true. I mean, there's times when nurturing and concern and empathy and those emotional processes are what's necessary. So in those cases, if we're clinging to stoicism and logic and problem solving and critical thinking, which is more masculine, well, that can also be counterproductive and harmful and unhealthy and that sort of stuff. This is typically why you don't see very many Marine Corps drill sergeants opening daycare centers. You see how that would work? I mean, you don't want, oh, we're going to teach you, we're helping potty train this little boy. You freaking worm. I'm your mama. I'm your daddy. Get on the toilet. You're a worthless piece of crap. That wouldn't work very good in a daycare center. You need empathy. You need a warmth and nurturing and gentleness and encouragement. You see, so in a situation like that, sure, that feminine thinking is very well in place. So these people on my Facebook, they'll try to use my own words against me. Well, that's really feminine, dang, because they think I'm trying to insult them. They think of it as an insult when it's not, and then they try to use it on me, and it just tickles me pink. But anyway, so these people, they are, Foxophiles. They are the conservatives that they're just like, if Fox says it, it must be true. They're, when you get down to the machine language level in their minds, the foundational principles that they form their worldview with, they're really no different than people on the left. They're no different than those blue-haired nose ring people that are running around, with Trump derangement syndrome, who don't really understand anything or much of what they're saying. All they know is they want to win. They want to win, they want to win, they want to win. The idea of truth or health or benefit really doesn't enter into it. So that's kind of the way it goes. So they run to these little things here. This is a selfie video from this guy in the Make America Great Again hat. Look just underneath that hat, Bill. You see that cheek right there? You see that cheek? That dude hadn't been shaving but about a month and a half, maybe. Okay, and it just looks like he has a serious vitamin D deficiency. You see this face of mine? You see all this? See, I done been out in the sun. I done did some stuff, and although I haven't shaved in many years, I have shaved quite a bit in my life or whatever. But this dude, you can tell, man, that's a dude right there, spends a lot of time indoors. He's got a vitamin D deficiency. But he put on his Make America Great Again hat, and he decided it would be great to go to Tennessee State University, HBC. Historically black university, and they were going to set them up a little table. And this is the danger that you've seen me talk about in some of my videos of this weird, crazy kind of thing of we are Charlie Kirk, and we need to continue his legacy. We need to fight for Charlie and all that kind of stuff, and that sort of posturing that's going on with the TPUSA and their orbiters right now, where they're elevating Charlie Kirk up to some sort of a level of their, like they're George Washington or something, Paul Revere, whatever. A lot of you public school graduates probably not familiar with those names, John Paul Jones, that kind of stuff. They probably, was it John Paul Jones? Wasn't that like a rock and roll group back in the 50s, I think? Yeah. No, but they're elevating him up to some kind of a level like that, and so these young people, this guy right here with that smooth face, like that, a vitamin D deficiency he's got, they say, oh man, this is great. Charlie Kirk is getting all this attention, and Everybody's, thinking about Charlie. I'm going to jump on the bandwagon and I'm going to get me a folding table and a Make America Great Again hat. And I'm going to buy me a PA system. I'm either going to order off Amazon or something like that. And I'm going to go set up at an HBC and I'm going to engage. But they don't know anything. It's like giving a 10-year-old the car keys to a Corvette or something. They don't know anything, you see. So he just decides he's going to go. These guys are going to set up. And, of course, they had a crowd show up heckling them naturally. And this is a video of them being escorted off campus. And I'll get to the comments in a minute, but some of the people on my friends list, a couple of them I know of, and then I went and commented on their comments. And then since then I've seen some more people off my friends list go comment as well. So it's probably because it's showing up in the algorithm. But let's check this out. I want you to listen closely to what these guys say near the end. You see, he's loving that attention. You see how he zoomed in on the Make America Great Again. See, he's loving that attention. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. These guys they're trying to seize that masculine, conservative, stand up and lead the people, the young people, kind of place, that office. But their thinking is feminine, and I can explain why it's feminine as we go along this video. But you see this Make America Great Again, that focusing in on that is the feminine, because that would be like the girl showing up. You know how a woman, if she wants attention, or at least back in the day with when they did the hairspray, if she wanted attention, she would kind of do her hair like that, or she might look at the rings on her fingers, and that's what that dude did right there. You see, or like, a woman that had a boob job, she might stand up particularly straight or something like that. That's what he did right there. And the problem is, it means that his trip to this HBC is not about policy. It's not about principle. It's not about the philosophy or the ideology that he says he believes. No, it's about him getting attention. See, that's where the feminine comes in. It's about him getting attention for what he's doing, so that his friends and stuff, and he can hope to be famous, by going, oh, look, he went to the HBC and he got ran off and he's such a hero and we need more people like him and Charlie. I'll give you a contrast. That kid, and I forget his name. I can look it up real quick if I want to. On my Google here, let's see, Catholic student, Native American. I'm sorry, but I am a public school graduate. Now I got my bachelor's degree from a private school, from a private college, but that wasn't necessarily much better. No, I'm really proud of, even though my school I think was like a tier 3 or tier 4, But I mean, anyway, I'm just joking. I'm joking when I say, well, I'm a public school student and he must have graduated from a public school. That's a joke, people. It's a joke. Anyway, so what was that kid's name? Nick Sandman. Mr. Sandman. Anyway, they were in Washington, D.C., and there was, I think, the March for Life, I think, is one of the Catholic students were out there, and they were standing, I think, at the monument, waiting on their bus, and then the protesters came up, and one of them was that supposed Native American with banging his drum, and Nick Sandman just stood there kind of stoically smiling at the guy, and then the liberal media jumped in, and they were like, he's a racist. He was laughing at this Native American whose land white people stole, and blah, 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 and they just went on about the kid, and then when it was all said and done, he ended up suing them and getting like millions of dollars from several different media companies. Okay, that's the masculine. Okay, like I said in one of my videos yesterday, that I made talking to Peggy about the armor of God and stuff like that. Scripture tells you when you've done everything you can to stand, then therefore stand. That's all you can do. Once you prepare to stand, then stand. and just stand on what you believe and what is good and right and just and pure and holy and beautiful and all that. And you stand. You don't back down. Even if there's nothing else you can do to advance, you don't retreat, and you darn sure don't lay down. And that's what Nick Sandman did. He didn't back down. He just stood there. He didn't get aggressive towards that Indian. He didn't do anything. But he did stand his ground. And so those leftist media outlets, they did what women did. They slandered and character assassinated. I'm not saying all women, so don't start labeling me as one of them misogynists. Okay? Nothing like, don't start sending me dead rats in the mail or telling folks, like some of these people that claim to be conservative on my Facebook, and they're like, Dane's just running down women. I'm not running down women. I'm describing the generally typical behavior of women and how women exact violence. Because they don't have upper body strength, it's difficult for them to punch you in the face, knock you out. So they go for things like character assassination and shame and peer pressure and those sorts of things. And that's what the media did, because the left is inherently feminine. Socialism is inherently feminine, you see, which is the case. And that's what they did. The media went trying to slander the guy, destroy his character, try to make him guilty of things he didn't do and insult him and stuff. But he did the masculine. He stood his ground. He didn't back down. Don't back down. He didn't back down, right? He didn't back down. And he went through the proper channels, and he got paid. Yeah, he got paid. He got paid big time. That's what he did, okay? That's not what this guy right here is doing, him and his 3 friends, him and his 3 little vitamin D deficient friends. They've probably got about 4 whiskers between them. It's not what they did. They loaded up, and they came up with a great idea to get attention by going and stirring up some mess on an HBC, hoping they'd get famous and whatever. And that's why they're working in the feminine mindset. It's like a woman that says, I'm going to go get my hair done and get my nails done, my fingernails done, get me a BBL, and give me a set of falsies and all this kind of stuff. Why? So that in public, they would get noticed. You see, oh, girl, when'd you get your hair done? That kind of stuff, and whatever. Well, these guys, they didn't get their hair done or the nails done or, whatever. But they got the Make America Great Again. They got their table, a little PA system, and they went to an HBC. But it's for the same reason. It's the same method and the same reason. It's just that the blanks fill in with different words. But that's what they did. So, and he made sure in his little selfie that he's hoping to go viral, that he focused in on that Make America Great Again hat. Don't y'all forget, I'm one of y'all. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. Anyway, carry on. See, the police officers, they're not in danger. They're not in danger. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. Okay, look. Yeah, they're surrounded by a whole bunch of black people. Those black people are obviously upset. So they're hollering and screaming, and they're videoing them on their phone, and they're hooting and hollering and shouting them out. Okay, so I know a lot of my less melanated friends would look at that and, man, they in danger. They're not in danger. None of those black people are acting any more aggressive than just shouting at them. You see, they're not throwing stuff at them. They're not physically threatening them, and the police are there escorting them out. Okay, so let's look at it for what it is. Okay, here they are. They're in their car. They're getting more footage. This is what these guys went here for, okay? Charlie Kirk did not go set up his things on college campuses for the whole prove me wrong or whatever thing, just to get attention and just to get videos to go online, to go viral so they could get more attention. That's a feminine thought process. You see, that's what it is. No, Charlie Kirk was doing that for the purpose of actually trying to make an impact on the young people on the campus who've been lied to by the culture. See, he was actually there to challenge their worldview, to defend his worldview, and to try to make some inroads and make some changes and such. Thanks, baby. And make some changes and stuff in the culture. He was trying to actually accomplish something. These guys are not doing that. They're just wanting the attention. They want the experience. This is why you hear so much about women talking about how they just want to go travel. Oh, I just love traveling. It's very experiences. Those sort of things are very important to the feminine mind. And that's what these guys are doing. They just want the experience. And so here they are in their car, and they're videoing all these black people around the car as the police, including that little pink one right there with the glasses on, that old dude. They're videoing that or whatever. And listen to what this dude's fixing to say. Okay, he says it real quick. But listen to what this dude in the car says. And this dude in the car saying this is what should tell you is what he says should tell you that what I've told you up until this point is true. See, really, you should just accept it as true anyway, because I am that smart. I mean, come on, let's be serious. But even if you just didn't believe that I was really all that smart, what he's about to say will tell you, if you got good sense, it'll tell you that what I told you is true. That these guys just went here for the experience, their lived experience. They went there for that lived experience and to get attention. Listen to what he says.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I think the Fearless Tour definitely made an impact.
Yeah,
Did you hear that? It's kind of echoey, so I'm going to try to roll it back a little bit. I don't know if my OBS is going to let me do this to roll it back very far like that, but I'm going to try. I don't know. I'm old and I'm not hyper techie. Oh, shoot. It ain't going to let me do it, did it? There we go. Let's try it again. I'm just going to let it play, but listen, see if you can make out what the guy said. I'm going to pot him up a little bit over here. I'm going to pot him up. For you non-broadcasting people, when I said pot him up, I'm referring to what used to be a potentiometer on a broadcasting mixing board. I'm turning the potentiometer up. In 2025, the pots are just little icons displayed on a computer screen. But basically, I'm just turning the volume up for him, okay? Going to pot him up. Ooh, he's so warm and fuzzy. Reminds me of the good old days. All right, hold on. Here we go. Listen closely now. You're going to miss it.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, I think the Fearless Tour definitely made an impact.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? Let's try it one more time. I know you're getting tired of me and all my drama, but we're going to try. I want you to hear it. This way, I don't want you talking about Dane just made that up.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, I think the Fearless Tour definitely made an impact.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody in the car said, "Oh, my gosh," about the crowd. And then some other dude says, "Oh, yeah, I think Just tell me right here that these fellas was either raised by a single mother, or if their father was in the home, he was very passive. Okay, because it's just like, man, these dudes look like they're at least college age, and they're I don't know, they're I don't know, it's just very immature. Okay, but he says, I would say that the Fearless Four, like this is some kind of a Marvel or DC Comics thing going on. The Fearless Four really made an impact. So I only saw one white dude in the video, the one getting a selfie, whatever. But I guess there was four little white dudes sitting on the bed. One fell off and bumped his head. Yeah, I guess there were four little white dudes there, and they called themselves the Fearless Four. Really? I mean, I don't know. If he got a dad, his dad need to slap him. The Fearless Four really made an impact. You see, that's all that feminine language. Oh, that's very impactful. That kind of stuff. The Fearless Four really made an impact. No, they just went on an HBC campus and just stirred up a bunch of, angst and hate and discontentment and got escorted off campus. Well, I'd say the Fearless Four really made an impact. See, the feminine mind typically sees itself as the main character or the actor, the lead role in some epic movie. You see, so this is why women often will come up with these kind of like little labels for stuff, and they'll refer to a good friend as their bestie. Oh, that's my bestie and stuff like that. It all comes from that foundational concept in that woman's mind that there's some great like novel being written that is their life, or some epic movie, you see, or some screenplay that they're a part of, you know, that there's this nameless, faceless, unseen audience in reality that's watching their show that is their life. This is why you'll see so many women on Facebook and such posting about haters. You know, my hater's this, and you might hate me if you want, but this, that, and the other. But they really can't tell you who the people are they're actually talking to. But they just have this concept, this dramatic concept in their mind that there is this group of naysayers out there who are wasting their time talking about or degrading or belittling them in their life, because foundationally in their mind, their reality is some great screenplay that they're performing or something. And that's another indication that these guys are feminine minded, is that little dude. Well, I'd say that the Fearless Four really made an impact. See, they went there for the purpose of causing that problem.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa.
Did somebody just throw something in our car?
Arrest. They just tried to hit the car.
The video's not that long. Let's look through it one more. Let's let it run all the way through one more time.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I think the Fearless tour definitely made an impact.
Yeah,
on
yeah.
HBCU.
Yeah. Oh, whoa.
Did somebody just throw something in our car?
Arrest. They just tried to hit the car.
All right. So I jumped over here to the comments, and some of these people, here's a guy off my Facebook right here. Did they watch the same video I just watched? You see over here in this write-up about what happened, the college here said, today a group of individuals unaffiliated with Tennessee State University appeared on campus without prior notice. In accordance with university policy, any demonstration or protest activity requires advanced approval and permitting. That's right. Campus police and staff responded promptly, and individuals were escorted from university grounds without incident. At all times, TSU students conducted themselves in a professional and respectful manner. The safety and well-being of our students, faculty, and staff remain our highest priority. TSU will continue to uphold university policies and ensure the campus remains a safe, welcoming, and orderly environment for all members of our community. All right. So here's Lee says, did they watch the same video I watched? I suppose that he's talking about the way that the students were yelling and shouting and heckling, as opposed to the school's claim that the students conducted themselves in a professional and respectful manner. So he's probably referred to that. Did they watch the same video I watched? And to which this lady said, they watched the ones in their heads. You know the one. And that's supposed to be funny. This guy right here, Don, he and I interact quite a bit on my Facebook post because he's dumb. Figures, look who it was. Enough said. That right there is what you would call a racist remark. Figures, look who it was. Enough said. BLM, like other groups like this, are just terrorists. Those students were not BLM. And they're not acting like that because they're black kids. Stupid. They're acting like that because these four little white little milk toast vitamin D deficiency little boys went there and thought they were going to be some kind of hero. They effed around and found out. And see, what I don't understand is why people like this do, they evaluate these situations based on the skin color of the participants and not based upon the facts of the incident. So this is why I say these people, they call themselves conservative on the right, but they're not really conservative. They have this patchwork quilt system of a worldview that they piece together based on one thing: how they feel emotionally. And as I keep explaining, that's a feminine process. How they feel emotionally when they have a certain thought. And that's all it's based on. See? So because they're white, then they're going to side with the white kids. You know, there's comments I heard that said, imagine if the roles were reversed. Okay, if the roles were reversed and it was a black students and white kids, there's going to be a lot of feminized black people who would side with the black student. I mean, with the black, guy, what's white here. If they were black, then the black people would side with the black people because they're black, so black, and it gives them a positive emotional response. So that's what they're going to side with. And the details of the incident be damned. That's what it is. Figures, look who it was. Enough said. See, that is the very verbiage of a closed mind. When you say enough said, and the one little enough said. No, that's not enough said. People who are intelligent, reasonable, lovers of truth, that's not enough said. See, they want to know the details. They want to know the actual facts of what happened, and then they draw their conclusion. And then they decide how to respond to whatever happened. It's never enough said. And then he wants to bring in BLM and stuff, which doesn't have anything to do with this, anything at all. So because, they were the only two I saw on there real quick, so I tagged both of them. And I said, look who it was. Come on. You have 4 stupid-ass white guys who probably have a vitamin D deficiency who went to an HBC in order to stir up controversy. This is the damn problem with the whole We Are Charlie type stuff. These idiots are completely unprepared and were actually breaking the rules. Charlie didn't do that. But you have a generation of feminized men all caught up in their emotions and trying to get attention like women. The white boys 100% instigated this problem. And then, of course, he went on with some mumbo jumbo, and he ended up, he tried to say something about, he tried to put out a fat joke, which he's been on my Facebook enough that he's probably seen me joking around about being fat a lot, so I don't know why he thought to say something about me being fat is a problem. So I addressed that, and, he's just prattling along or whatever. Here's a lady that's also on my Facebook here. It's talking about free speech for them, but not for anyone that agrees with them. Why don't they arrest the ones doing the harassing instead of the victim? The ones doing the harassing is the guy in the red cap. As I said earlier in this video, these, what they call themselves, the Fearless Four. The Fearless Four. See, they got together, I guess, with their little decoder rings or something and decided they were going to go to this HBC to start some mess. That's what happened. They're the harassers. The black students are merely responding to their harassment in the exact way that these 4 guys on campus were hoping they would respond. It's just, you see, like, look like he was escaping a carnival cruise. You see that racist sort of stuff that this person right here, I don't think this lady here is on my Facebook. No, it would pop up and it'd say we were friends if she was actually on my Facebook. But yeah, that's so stupid. Looks like he was escaping a carnival cruise. What a maroon. See, it's just a matter of these my people, so I'm gonna side with my people, which is the very thing that I've heard us on the right complain about with the left for years. It's just these are my people. They look like me. They're on my side of the fence. We're on the same team, so I'm gonna stand with them, and I'm gonna make excuses for their behavior, no matter what the details are. It's like this video I saw one time. I just thought of it, or I would have pulled it up to play right now. It would have been a great edit. Where there was some young black dude breaking in somebody's house, and and the woman inside the house shot him and killed him. So his mama and sisters and stuff was out there on the news trying to defend the guy, and the sister or something said something to the effect of, "We live in the ghetto. How else we gonna get our stuff?" So she was justifying this dude breaking and entering this woman's house by saying, "Well, we live in the ghetto. How else we gonna get our stuff?" Well, that same mindset is rolling online right now with people that are defending these little milquetoast boys here for going to the HBC to try to start trouble. And the only reason that the sister, we live in the ghetto, the only reason she was defending the dude that got killed, the burglar, was because he looked like her. And then, of course, he was related to her. And he comes from the same socioeconomic level as her. So because they're in the same little group, the fact that he was breaking and entering didn't make no difference. We're going to defend on no matter what. See, in this situation right here, so many of my fellow conservatives, y'all all over the internet right now, defending these fools who loaded up to go to this HBC for no other reason but to stir this up. They didn't notify the college beforehand. They didn't get the proper permits. They didn't do any of that. They didn't have any of their own security. They just, we are Charlie, fight for Charlie, continue his legacy. So they loaded up like they were Timu Charlie. They are Wish TPUSA. They're going to load up and they're just going to go down there to create some mess. And of course, they got the attention they wanted. And they've got a lot of conservatives that are just cheering them on. You really need to think about supporting these dudes, because the message you're sending, if you're a conservative and you're talking in your family and friend circle and you're on the internet talking about how these little four little saltines, they ain't even Ritz. Like, I say I'm a Ritz. I ain't no saltine. I might be a cracker, but I got some flavor. I'm a Ritz. These dudes right here ain't nothing but Nabisco Saltines, floating around some buttermilk. And they loaded up and they said, we're going to go ahead and cause some problems. And y'all keep defending them and supporting them and making out like they're some kind of hero. And I'm telling you, you're going to encourage other little non-vitamin D people to keep doing that. And they're going to end up, I'm all for going into the mouth of the lion like Charlie Kirk did, like Steven Crowder used to do. Y'all talking like Charlie Kirk, the first? No. The first was Steven Crowder. He was sitting down there, and his was Change My Mind. See, but you know why he said he quit doing it? Because he got tired of the death threats and having people out from the crowd throwing stuff at him, all of that sort of stuff. So he merged over to just doing the Steven Crowder show. Ben Shapiro used to do it, but he wasn't out in the play. He would go in the auditoriums and he would give a speech, and then he would have Q&A sessions. But that even got so violent that he quit doing it, But Charlie Kirk kept right on rolling along with it. You see, these guys, they're not equipped to do that. So as you people, which are on my side of the aisle, so you people are on the right like me, as y'all continue applauding and cheering these fools, you're going to end up getting people hurt. You're going to end up getting your sons hurt. You're going to end up getting them hurt. And when you do get hurt, you're going to turn around, you're going to blame it on like these black students here. And of course, if someone had exacted some violence on these the fearless four, if they had committed some sort of violent act against them, they'd be responsible for their violent act, 100%. But these guys right here are being stupid to do something like this. They're the ones that broke the rules. They broke the rules to go down there and harass these students at the HBC. It's no different than when Black Lives Matter would go and they just stage up, they'd have a muster point, and then they'd just walk out and they'd shut down the highways. They just stand in the middle of the road and they'd shut down the highway. Now, when BLM did that, you people who are my people, you're on my side of the fence, you people were jumping up and down. They ought to just run over them. All lives splatter, I heard y'all say. That's illegal. They ought to just arrest all of them. See? But these guys right here, they do essentially the same thing. Okay? Not the same, essentially. which derives from the word essence, okay? So don't be telling me, well, that ain't the same. They not in the middle of the road. I know that. But the essence is the same. Essentially, they do the same thing. They just decided we're going to go to the campus instead of we're going to go stand in the middle of the road. We're going to go to the campus without permission. Could have got a permit. Just like we're going to go stand in the middle of the road without permission. See, they could have applied for and gotten a parade permit, and they could stand in the middle of the road all they want. And the police could have set up traffic controls, and they could have increased the manpower, the police presence for public protection and that kind of stuff. But no, BLM just decided we're going to load up and go stand in the middle of the road and shut down traffic. Just like these boys, that's what a lowercase b, right? They don't even deserve an uppercase, they get a lowercase b. These boys decided we just going to go to the middle of the campus and we're going to set up. We're going to see what happens. It's essentially the same thing. And y'all keep on encouraging these boys, most of which I would wager have not been raised up by fathers. See, so they're going to go out there and because they got a good idea. Every little bit counts. And they're going to go out there and they're going to get themselves hurt. People of integrity, principled people on the right would be able to look at this, look at the actual elements of it, and it wouldn't bother them, hurt their feelings one bit to call these 4 little Saltine Fearless Fours out and say that they were in the wrong. See, they could have filed for a permit. Well, they would just deny the permit and they still wouldn't be able to do it. Well, then they'll go get a lawyer because there are laws in this country. They're called equal access laws. And what they say is that as long as that person goes through like the safety procedures and whatever, that they can't be denied access to the use of public education facilities. See, used to, nowadays, everywhere you look, there's some little upstart, independent, it ends up being a disgruntled Baptist, but some independent church will spring up holding church service on Sunday mornings in some schools, some public schools, gymnasium or auditorium. See, used to couldn't do that. Back in the early 90s and stuff, couldn't do that. If a church body wanted to rent out the gym, the whole church service or something like that, they deny them and they say it's separation of church and state. We can't be having no religious services on taxpayer buildings and that kind of stuff. And so a lot of folks went through and they took it all the way. I believe they took it all the way to the Supreme Court. And there were laws and rulings put in place that said that you could not, as long as the church was paying rent for that space for that time, that they had just as much right to use that space as, some community beauty pageant or whatever has to use that space. So there are laws the university could not deny them a permit provided that these 4 guys met, the safety protocols and stuff like that, So, but these guys didn't want to do it, probably because they don't have the money to do it, because doing that kind of stuff does take money. So what that boils down to, if they didn't have money to do it, they weren't qualified to do it, which means they shouldn't be allowed to do it, because the only thing they end up doing, if they do it anyway and they're not qualified, is they create a public safety issue. And like it or not, that is an issue. So I'm happy to hear what some of y'all might have to say about this. Hopefully I am delightfully wrong, but I expect for most all of my friends on the right to come out and defend the Fearless 4. Well, I say the Fearless 4 made an impact. That kind of stuff. But if you will, when you come to defend the Fearless 4, please don't come saying nonsense, made up stuff. When you defend the Fearless 4, please provide some logical argumentation. Okay? Don't just come at me and just tell me all this. Well, they did it. Well, the left did it too. And they got away with it. So that means that we ought to be able to break the law and get away with it too. Please don't come at me with that mess, okay? Put some thought into it. Come on, get down to comment. Let me know what you think. You know what I'm saying? because I do enjoy the back and forth. I enjoy the argumentation, like iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another. See, so I really enjoy it, but hopefully I'm gonna eat this shrimp salad stuff that the degenator, the Dieter. See what she brought me. See, she brought me this right here, some kind of pasta shrimp salad stuff that she made for me. Girl, she keep me fat, so no other woman will want to take me. That's what she's doing. She keep me fat, so no other woman want me. Tricks on her though, jokes on her, cause back when I was skinny, didn't no other woman want me.